Welcome back to the Faces of Family Business, the series where we seek to shine a spotlight on family businesses and the huge contribution that they make to the economy, not only here but further afield. Today we're going to be meeting the second generation directors of Henry Group, a construction company headquartered in Magherafelt with offices in England and in Scotland. And I think it's a really fitting sector because a family business like a construction company needs to establish firm foundations in order to build for future generations. I'm going to kick off by asking each of you a nice easy opening question. First of all, to introduce yourself, your role in the business, and if you can take me back to the earliest memory that you have of working in your family business. And we'll start with you, Ian.
I'm Ian Henry. I'm a director in Henry Group. My earliest memory would have been of my father taking me down to an office we had. Just really remember being dropped off at the office, him going about his work around the sites or whatever, and me spending time with the ladies in the office, probably pestering the life out of them, and then him lifting me in the evening and bringing me back up home again. So that was probably how we spent our summer holidays. And in primary school age, so we started quite
young. Julie, what about you?
I'm Julie McKeown. I'm the HR director in the group. I suppose my earliest memory of actually working was we had an office down in Ballykelly, and I was shipped out there. I think I was about 13 or 14. And went down with the workmen in the van and back home in the evenings. So that was my earliest introduction to the office work.
And was there a general expectation in the family that you would be getting stuck in quite young then? Was that the expectation?
Well, you didn't get lying in bed very long in the summer holidays.
Were you unhappy, or were you reluctant, or were you?
At times I wasn't very happy because all my friends were out doing what other kids were doing and we were working, but was what it was.
And David?
Yeah, well, my name's David Henry. I'm Managing Director of Henry Group. I can't give you my earliest memory, but I'll give you a memory that I have. I remember the first day that I missed school. I was on site on a Saturday morning, working with the guys out on the site, and I actually hurt my knee on the site. I was 11 at the time, and that was the first day I missed school. I had a full attendance record right up to that, and after that it just fell apart. So
you must have found it more interesting than school then, David.
That'd be an understatement, yeah.
So you're all brought in at quite young age. Am I right in saying that the third generation are now involved in the business in various capacities? Yeah, and were they a little bit older, I guess, than that?
They mostly went through school, probably certainly into secondary school, though, into probably 14, 15 before they were getting out onto sites and things. So yeah, and I suppose health and safety regulations have sort of dictated that a bit as well, but which is good. It's a lot better, but still it's good experience for them to let them see whether they're interested in coming into the business or not. It's a good thing.
You know what one of the points of this series is to celebrate how important family businesses are to the economy. What do you think are the key factors that make that the case, that businesses like yours are so important for employing people and providing for so many people?
Well, I think from a local perspective, we're a family business, therefore, we look at our employees as part of that bigger family within the business. So, I think it shows the loyalty there, that we're there for them as much as they are for us. We still employ a lot of local people in the Magherafelt area, even though we're working in England, and we've taken that ethos across the water as well, and carried that through. So I would like to think that everybody still looks at it as a strong family unit that they can turn to and rely on.
And do you have lots of non-family member who are long-standing employees then, I take it from that have been with you for many years?
Yeah, we've quite a lot of people that are probably between 30 and 42 years that have been with us. A lot, yeah. They're all coming towards the end of their career as such, but have been very, very dedicated people with us right through, and have been a real privilege to work with, yeah.
There's two there from the very start, so
the
they're still with us,
72, 73 years of age, and still working and still very fresh.
The business that your father started, you know, having had a look at your book there, he was out really learning all skills from the ground up. The business that you inherited was presumably a lot larger and different in that sense. You need different skills, I guess, David, to run with a business at that point.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed a lot since my father started and to where we're at now, and even what it'll look like when we're handing it over, you know, it'll be vast differences. But, you know, things have changed a lot for the better, and, you know, our industry's got a lot more sophisticated, a lot safer, and all those types of things, which are really, really good. And we've now got technology coming in to help us as well. So, you know, we always need to be progressing and getting to the next stage, and that's where the next generation will really fit in, because they're tech savvy, they know how to work it, know what to do with it. So, you know, they'll really come into a league of their own probably at that stage, we're hoping. But yeah, things are a lot different, but a lot of good improvement in our industry.
And health and safety and that you mentioned, you know, I guess for you taking on the business, that was, each generation must come with its own fresh look at things, and that was part of what you were having to deal with compared to perhaps, but you know,
yeah, you know, if you think back, I think back to where we started and what some of the things we would have done, and compared to where we're at now, you wouldn't even dream of doing them, you know. But that's just progression, and thankfully it's progressed in the right direction. So.
Yeah, but the other thing David touched on there as well, you know, and we all started on the ground. You know, Julie mentioned there she worked in Ballykelly at the start, out on site, you know, and that's something our father, you know, pushed us towards. Start on the ground and work your way up through, and you'll understand the business more. And I think that has helped all of us as the next generation taking it on to understand everybody's point of view as well, and every level on the way up through that. You know, we haven't just walked straight into an office and said, right, we're now the boss today, and that's it. So it's been a learning curve for us all at the same time. So it's been grassroots growing up and coming through.
Did you get a pass because you were the boss's son or
yeah,
daughter
the guys
when you were out on site?
The guys in site usually love to see us coming.
And your side of the business, Julie, do you see much change with technology and these things moving on?
There's like HR from I started to what it is now, and everything has changed. When you look at health and safety, when you look at tech, when you look at HR, all the processes, everything's just vastly different than what it was.
But then we're becoming a more mature company as well, you know, as you're expected, you know, you should be changing.
Aye, to
so you
drive
just become,
change.
from what we were when Jim started to what we are when we took over, we were a lot more mature of a company. So, you know, we expect all those processes to come with it. So.
And I mean, you do some amazing projects from universities to offices to. Is there any that stand out over the history of the company where you think that, you know, we're really proud of that? Is it difficult to pick one?
It is quite difficult. We've worked with a lot of great clients, a lot of repeat clients that we've worked with for years, and a lot of projects that really stand out. We're doing one at the minute, actually, which is a large training area for youth coming in, actually into the military. And it's an outstanding building. Just pity that not so many people actually see it. It's a real award-winning building. It's due to finish in the next couple of weeks, so credit to the guys building it. It's one of the greenest buildings probably we've built.
And that whole green influence in building must be a major part then as things develop, that's important in buildings. And is that everything from heat recovery, David, to like electric and?
Yeah, using electric and glue lamp structures and all those, you know, there's just a lot of different ways of doing it and doing the same thing, but there's just many ways of getting it. And those are all new technology that's coming into our industry, which is setting it apart. There's no doubt about that.
And I'm sure with the next generation coming in, they're very alert and alive to the importance of all of those things.
Yeah, a lot more than what we would be. You know, they take it nearly comes natural to them. They expect it, you know, whereas it's maybe a first for us. You know, they expect to having that. And
do you find in terms of the next generation coming in, are you having to manage some of the technology adjustments they want to make, or are you finding any tension around those ideas?
Not so much. We just find them maybe more open. And we would use tech quite a bit, and you know, so try and use it the most efficient way that we can use it.
I think that's another advantage of a family business, and you can take these decisions and run with them without perhaps some of the maybe some of your corporate and larger competitors are having to go through processes and committees in order to do.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of family business. You have got that freedom where. And if it doesn't work, you can take the decision and say, we're not investing in this any further, stop it. Whereas a corporate may not be allowed to take that decision. It might be nearly imposed on them. Well, you have to do it.
And you can make decisions quicker and move quicker with it as well. So
Yes.
when, you know, we can sit around the table most days of the week and make a decision. Whereas if you take some of the larger companies, it would take them a long time to get everybody around the table to talk about the decision they want to make, and then a bit longer to make a decision. So, you know, I think being a family business helps with that it is your decision you're making, and you can carry that on your own shoulders, or whether it's good or bad.
On that note, Ian, the family bonds clearly very important at the core of the business, but having a teenage young children myself, I understand the family dynamic. Sometimes that's an advantage, sometimes it's not. Can you speak to any disagreements that you've had and how you've handled those over the years, or perhaps that's not even an issue?
You know, everybody has an opinion, and we have to understand that and listen to them, and then decide on how to move forward as a family and a business. So we have to have two hats on at that stage to make sure there's no conflict. And we have, you know, we've drawn up a family constitution as well. So if that ever did come about, we know exactly where each one of us sit with that anyway. So it sorts itself out at that stage. We're all fairly level-headed when it comes to that, and there's no...
And nobody's jumping in to disagree with you, and so that's a good sign.
No, and we have to be professional, because the people in our business have to trust us. So if we're killing they're not going to, you know, they're not going to have any trust in the decisions we're making or how we're making them or anything else. So, plus we've got two NEDs sitting in the boardroom, and if they're sitting like referees all the time, that's not good for anybody either. So we have to keep everything professional.
You have two non-executives then on the board.
Non-executive directors, yeah.
And I'm sure that brings a degree of, you know, that's a degree of maturity in terms of the business as you look to the future. Do you find that helpful?
Yeah, very helpful. I suppose it's very helpful just to, you know, to that question that maybe you don't ask yourself. You know, the question that we maybe take for granted and don't actually prod around it, and they'll ask us and hold us to account on, well, why are you doing it and what's the benefit and all the rest of it. So no, we find them very beneficial, and they have to be the right people, I would say. At the same time, they have to be people that understand family business, and that's not always easy to get. We have got two great guys on that side. Our sister is a non-executive director as well. And those are people that, some that know the business inside out, and others that don't know anything really about the business, only what they've learned since they've worked with us. So, yeah. But they're very, very beneficial. I would highly recommend it.
It's a big step to do that, and it's testament to you to having that longer term view and seeing the importance of it and now the benefits. So that's great. That's great.
And it's probably a big step for them too, because we do have stronger opinions. We're more passionate maybe about our own business and keeping it together and knowing what we want to do and where we want to go in the future. So bringing somebody else in external that doesn't understand that just wouldn't work. And that's where we have been very fortunate that they get us, they understand us and able to work with us. So. You engaged with the Faces of Family Business exhibition that was run in conjunction with the Forum and Ulster University, and can you talk about what that experience was like? I think maybe you, Julie, were pulling together trawling the archives.
I actually thought the exhibition itself was brilliant, because it let me see the different businesses, family businesses, some that have been here for years and years and generations, and others that are quite new. And just to see a wee bit about their history, and even the wee artefacts like the cup from Morelli's and the ring from Minari's and the stories behind those just was so nice to be a part of that, and really humbling actually to be part of that.
It was powerful walking through the various kind of storyboards for each of your businesses. And you had to select then 3 images or artifacts in each case that represented your story. Was that an easy process for you to do?
I knew straight away what it would be.
And what led you to those 3 that you
I think
selected?
it was just showing the stages of our family business. So the first photograph was taken in the early 70s, and that was a family photo of us all round a sofa or on the sofa, and Ian was on my mummy's knee, I think, still, and I was on my father's knee, so we were all quite young. And then the next photograph was a more recent one of us all sort of on that same sort of setting on the sofa. And then the third generation was one we had got done for Jim for one of his birthdays, which was all the grandchildren depicting the image of the New York beam. So that was,
It's a lovely
it just
image.
showed the 3 generations.
Yes, capturing all 3 of those generations and at that point in time before they're now coming into the business.
Yeah.
And yeah, very nice. And on that generational shift that you're referring to there, Ian, did that go smoothly from you from a succession point of view from your dad?
I would say he struggled with it, to be honest, because he is so passionate about, and still is very passionate about the company. For us to walk in and make changes was probably more difficult for him to look back and go, well, you know, are you thinking I did that wrong, that you want to change it now? But it was just a natural progression, which we're going to have to accept on the next part as well. When it's time for us to hand over, there's no doubt the young ones are going to look at us and go, why are you doing it that way? You know, we need to change this. So you can understand maybe the frustration at times. I'm sure there was a struggle for him at the start when it was just right, it's yours now, and yeah, you guys get on with it. So.
But it was very important still to give him his place.
Yeah.
Because without him, we wouldn't have had a business to hand over. So
yeah, we're very fortunate. He's still in the yard, in the office most days. So, you know, you can always bounce things off him, and he's usually coming in with an idea here and there.
Fresh idea.
Yeah. So, you know, he's still passionate about it, still thinks about it, and still wants to help us grow and develop as well. So, you know, it was just a clear-cut process of here you are and I'm away to the Bahamas. You know, it was here you are, but I'm still in the background if you need me. And
so important
when
that
you
you
want
have
me.
legacy and wisdom that you can still access there. When that works well, it works really well.
I think that's the thing with our father. I mean, I often say he's still involved, but he doesn't interfere. He lets us make our own mistakes, I suppose, you know. My son said to me not that long ago, just let me make my own mistake.
And do you find that easy, David?
No, no, definitely not.
I see that as a parent myself. I suddenly hear my parents' words to me at this stage as my kids are coming up thinking, suddenly that makes sense. So I'm sure in a business context, it's even more challenging sometimes.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you know, Jim's the boss. You know, if you asked all our staff, all those long-term staff, Jim's the boss, and that's just it. And we're all happy with that. We're delighted with that. Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the power of the legacy piece and your non-family members staying with you for so long. There's something unwritten there that you're all gathering around, isn't it?
I mean, well, that's where the new branding even came from. Was we just couldn't get a brand that suited us. And I happened to be chatting to the guy that was doing it, and I said something about when Jim goes to site, they would literally crawl out of holes to go and shake his hand.
Right.
So that's where the two hands forming the H came from.
Very good.
Was that mutual level of trust and respect for him.
So, in terms of this rich history and the family connection that we're talking about here, is there a risk that you portray that family history as a slick marketing PR exercise? How do you balance that? Because there's a lot of integrity in what we've just talked about there. Is there any challenges there?
But we aren't in the market for ticking boxes. If we're going to do something, we're going to do it for the right reason. And whether that's working with charities, environmental issues, whatever that might be, you know, we'll do it for our reason rather than somebody coming to us and saying, you know, it'd be a good idea for you to do that, and that'll get you a couple of steps up the ladder there and a wee bit of promotion. So, you know, we're very careful in how we manage that and control it. Integrity
at the heart of what you're doing there. You're not getting away from those core values. What many family businesses do in terms of the employment and the community that you're a part of. Is there anything like that as you reflect from your story?
We're probably involved in a lot of different things in our community, and whilst, you know, we take on projects and there's you know, corporate social responsibility maybe tied into the contract, we always come back and are more willing to do it in our own community rather than anything really. It's not really linked to CSR as such. It's just you want to do it for your own town, your own development. You know, because you live there. We all live in Morrowfelt. We all are in that area. We socialise, we work, we live in it, we go to church in it. Whatever we do it there. So, I mean, you always want to try and improve and help your own area. And I suppose that just comes as second nature. So, yeah.
How does your story in terms of family history help your next generation coming through?
I have two girls, so whether they come into the business or not, I don't know. At the moment, they're not. They understand the business, they understand what you need to put into a business, and they understand the family side of it as well. I think all of us are probably the same, that our families understand what we do, but maybe only in this last few years really getting in depth to what we do. They're certainly, the older they get, the more they see of that, and I think that's a good thing for them, no matter what sector they end up in, that it's good grounding for them. For the ones coming into the company, they're looking at it in a totally different light, which is good. Yeah.
Whose children are coming through then, or are yours, David?
Well, I have my eldest girl isn't. She's going into teaching. My youngest is hoping to get into nursing. She's the same age as Ian's eldest. And my middle son is working for us, and he's over in England. And he's been on sites now for quite a while, so he's gaining experience. And he decided then, instead of travelling back and forward to England, he'd just move. So he has moved over there, which his mother isn't too happy about, but yeah, that's life. Yeah, so yeah, he's in the business and making a good start of it. Yeah, showing good progress. And
do you think he felt any pressure to come in, David?
Oh no, I don't. I mean, I suppose we're all probably in the same place where I don't think we put pressure on any of our children. I think if we have somebody in the business that doesn't want to be there, then they're no good to us. I think we need our next generation to be there, to have a passion to be there, want to be there, and want to do the best for the business. And if we get those things right, then they'll do well. It's just trying to get that balance. But you know, if somebody has the passion and somebody has the drive, and they want to come into our industry, it's a great industry, a brilliant industry. They can make a brilliant career out of it. If they've half as good a career as I have, they'll do well. They'll do brilliant. Yeah.
And a very satisfying industry to make something and see it built. Speaking as a
front, yeah. No, it's very satisfying. Yeah.
And have you any thoughts around that, Julie, in the next generation?
I have 4 kids, and 2 of the boys are in the business. They're coming through well. The youngest boy, he's only 15, so he's showing an interest, but we're not too sure where that'll go at this stage. And then I have one daughter, Chloe, but she hasn't come into the business at all. She started her own business, hairdressing. And maybe years down the line, you know, she'll have skills where, you know, she's had that business. She might be an asset down the line a bit.
It is just that challenge, isn't it, of passing it on to the next generation, and who wants to be involved and not putting them under pressure around that, getting the right people in. I think you've set a good process for them to understand and address that. You know, that's a great framework for them to go forward with. It's good.
And I think it's key to have good people around them. I mean, we've got some really brilliant people around us. You know, we're not the only directors in the company, we're the family directors, but we've got great directors around us with really good skill sets and top of their game, and it's really important that we have that going forward for the next generation. You know, there's the right people around them to support them, give them that advice. So, I mean, that comes back to us. We need to have that in place for them. So, yeah.
And do you find, in terms of those non-family directors, for example, how do you think they find it in terms of integrating with you as a family? Do you think they have challenges around the bond that you perhaps share as directors?
We probably look at our directors nearly as family.
Like they've all been there. Most of them have been there a long time.
Long time.
I certainly look at it as if I've nearly grown up with some of them. So, you know.
Yeah.
I think we are, you know, we want somebody to trust us as much as we want to trust them, and we really do have to trust them. It's my nature anyway, and I'm sure the rest of the same, that we really need to get in with somebody before we really fully trust them, and like we would trust our fellow directors with anything. I'm sure sometimes I sit back and go, I'm not sure where you're going with us or whatever, but they run with us and they give us, you know, the freedom to do that as well. They still challenge us. They are there to certainly help us in our way forward, and I believe they will be there for the next generation to keep them grounded as well, and to challenge them but at the same time bring them through and educate them in the process of just working and running a family business.
And that trust piece that you're talking about there must be very helpful in decision making and speed of decision making, because you have that trust and you don't have these complex processes to go through to check things.
For me, I think if you can't trust the people you're working with, then you're in a bad place. And certainly we would trust our directors with our life. You know, they've been here. Some have been here a long time. Some of them not that long. Some of them, well, I suppose when you say not that long, maybe some of them
10 or 12 years.
maybe 12 years. Yeah, that's not long, I suppose, at the moment.
It's all relative.
There you go. Yeah.
And it said that on that point, family businesses can take a very long-term view. So on trust and on kind of the key performance measures that a business would often use, do you find that as a family business that you're using any different type measures to run the business?
I think just the way we've been brought up and the things you've been brought up and those things you use those values right throughout your working career, and I think then they become evident in how you run your business. So whilst I don't think we're doing anything different, we maybe, some of the KPIs we don't maybe give as much value as some of the other ones that are closer to our hearts, I suppose. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I suppose just kind of from a last question, wrap-up point of view, what more could local government do to help businesses like yourselves?
I think there's a lot they could be doing around apprenticeships. Again, it's not going to be easy fixed. You know, the whole coming out of school, going to college. It's not everybody suited for college, certainly not. And there's people going to college that probably shouldn't go to college. They should be maybe going into trades or industry or whatever. So I think there's a massive piece around that whole apprenticeship, even the levy and how that's operated and all those things. So
well, I was going to say about the levy, because whilst we can access it in England, we can't get at it. So whatever we're paying over here, is just lost money. So there's bound to be some way that can be distributed within businesses in Northern Ireland that we can even get access to it.
I think that not to get into the politics of it, but making sure we have a working government is key. Yeah. You know, we can't just keep going the way we're going. And the problem with Northern Ireland, as I've always said, is the businesses do keep going, even when government aren't there, but suffer for it, yeah, and then get no recovery afterwards. So, you know, we need to make sure we have a working and understanding government to start with. And then, you know, as we touched on as well, helping family businesses continue to bring their family into the business, I think, is key. And if you take the farming industry at the moment, they're a dying breed now, because the young ones can't afford to stay in the family farm as a job as you would have done years ago. And I just worry that some family businesses end up the same, that they can't afford to bring their own family in because they need other people to come in and do those jobs, and they can't afford to pay their own. So there's a fine balance, I think, there that needs to be looked at, and I think government could help there with funding and just maybe even sponsorships or something like that. It's just a fresh idea of how they could open up the doors to let younger ones come in through at an earlier stage and understand business, get involved.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much for your participation, and thank you all for watching. We hope that you really enjoyed this episode and that you will join us for the next Faces of Family Business.